Commander Jake Harrison looked out the big window of his ship. The stars were bright and beautiful in the Kepler 442 system. He smiled as he watched the busy space traffic around him. Ships moved like bees between 7 planets and their moons. This was humanity's greatest secret. Jake remembered the old stories his grandfather told him. Back in 2387, when Earth was still struggling with wars and hunger, a brave woman named Dr. Lisa Martinez had made an amazing discovery. She was studying faraway star systems when she found something strange about Kepler 442. All the other scientists said it was dead and dangerous. The radiation readings were so high that no one could live there. But Lisa was different. She was smart and never gave up. She spent months studying the data from her small lab on Luna Station. One night, she discovered the truth. The radiation was not real. It was a natural trick of space itself. The system was actually perfect for human life. Lisa took her findings to Captain Ryan Burke, a tough military man who led deep space missions. Ryan was the kind of person who would take big risks for big rewards. When Lisa showed him the real data, his eyes grew wide. Here was a whole star system that the galaxy thought was empty and useless. But it was actually a paradise waiting for humans to claim it. Captain Burke gathered a team of the best people he could find. There was Dr. Lisa Martinez, the scientist who found the system. There was Tony Chun, a brilliant engineer who could build anything. There was Amy Foster, who knew how to grow food in space. And there was Kate Williams, a young military officer who was already known for her smart battle plans. The first mission to Kepler 442 was top secret. Only a few people on Earth knew about it. They called it Project Sanctuary. The small fleet of 5 ships left Earth in the middle of the night when no one was watching. They told everyone they were going to mine asteroids in the outer system. The journey took 3 months. When they finally arrived at Kepler 442, they could not believe what they saw. The system had 7 planets, and 4 of them were perfect for human life. The others could be made livable with some work. There were rich asteroid belts full of metals and rare elements. There were gas giants with moons that had water and air. Lisa had been right. This was not a dead system. It was a gift from the universe. The first colony was built on Kepler 442b, the planet closest to the star. It was a green world with blue oceans and white clouds. The air was clean and fresh. The weather was mild and pleasant. Captain Burke chose a spot near a large lake surrounded by hills. They built their first buildings there. Life was hard at first. The colonists had to build everything from scratch. They had no help from Earth. They could not even send messages back home because that would give away their secret. But they did not give up. They worked together and helped each other. Tony Chun was amazing at solving problems. When they needed power, he built fusion reactors from spare parts. When they needed food, he created machines that could grow plants anywhere. When they needed shelter, he designed buildings that could be put up in just one day. Amy Foster was the one who made the colony feel like home. She grew gardens full of flowers and vegetables. She taught people how to cook with the new foods they found on the planet. She started schools for the children and libraries for everyone to learn. Kate Williams kept everyone safe. She set up guards around the colony. She built weapons to protect against wild animals. She trained the colonists to fight if they had to. Most importantly, she made sure no one could find them from space. The secret was their hiding technology. Kate and Tony worked together to build special machines that made the colony invisible. From far away, their cities looked like empty hills. Their ships looked like rocks floating in space. Even their radio signals were hidden. Years passed, and the colony grew bigger and bigger. More people came from Earth in secret. They brought their families and friends. They brought new ideas and new skills. By 2400, There were thousands of people living on Kepler-442b. But they did not stop there. They moved to other planets in the system. They built cities on Kepler-442c, a desert world with huge mountains and deep valleys. They created underwater cities on Kepler-442d, a world covered in warm oceans. They even built space stations around the gas giants. The colonists discovered something amazing about living in secret. When you have to hide from the galaxy, you learn to be very creative. You find new ways to solve old problems. You build things that no one else has ever thought of. Tony Chun invented self-building robots that could create entire cities in just a few months. Amy Foster grew new kinds of plants that could live in any environment. Kate Williams designed ships that were faster and stronger than anything in the galaxy. By 2420, the Kepler-442 system was home to over 12 million people. They had built the most advanced civilization in known space. Their technology was better than the great alien empires. Their cities were more beautiful than anything on Earth. Their people were happy and free. But the best part was still their secret. The rest of the galaxy still thought Kepler-442 was empty and dangerous. The Galactic Council listed it as a forbidden zone. No ships were allowed to go there. No one was allowed to study it. This made the humans laugh. While the great alien races fought over tiny planets and moons, humanity had claimed an entire star system. While aliens struggled with old technology, humans were inventing new wonders every day. Jake Harrison had been born in the system 30 years ago. He had grown up watching his world become more amazing each year. He had seen the first space elevators built to carry people between planets. He had watched the first starships roll out of the hidden factories on Kepler-442. Now he was the commander of the New Frontier, one of the most advanced ships ever built. It was 3 miles long and could carry 10,000 people. It had weapons that could destroy a moon and shields that could stop a star's fire. But from the outside, it looked like a simple mining ship. As Jake looked out at his home system, he felt proud and worried at the same time. Proud because humans had built something wonderful. Worried because he knew their secret could not last forever. The galaxy was changing. New wars were starting. The alien empires were getting stronger and more violent. Soon someone would come looking for new worlds to conquer. And when they did, they would find more than they bargained for. The secret human colony was ready for whatever came next. They had the best technology, the smartest people, and the strongest will to survive. They had turned an empty star system into the most powerful force in the galaxy. The question was not if they would be discovered. The question was what would happen when they were. The warning came on a cold morning in October 2420. Marcus Wright landed his battered smuggling ship on the secret docking bay of Kepler-442b. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. He brought news that would change everything for the hidden human colony. Marcus was not like most smugglers. He was a good man who had helped many people escape from bad situations. He had been working with the colony for 5 years, bringing them supplies and information from the outside galaxy. But he had never looked this scared before. Colonel Helen Brooks met Marcus at the landing bay. She was the head of colonial intelligence, which meant she was in charge of finding out what was happening in the galaxy. Helen was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. She could tell that Marcus had bad news just by looking at him. "What is it?" Helen asked as Marcus stumbled off his ship. "The Dominion Empire," Marcus said, breathing hard. "They are moving toward human space, and they want to use this system as their base." Helen felt her blood turn cold. The Dominion Empire was the most dangerous force in the galaxy. They were led by a cruel alien called Warlord Zaxthil, who enjoyed destroying entire worlds just for fun. His armies had conquered hundreds of star systems. They were known for their huge ships, powerful weapons, and complete lack of mercy. Marcus told Helen everything he had learned. For months, he had been watching Dominion movements from his hidden bases. The Empire was planning their biggest attack ever. They wanted to destroy Earth and take over all human worlds. But first, they needed a place to gather their massive fleet. They picked Kepler 442 because they think it is empty, Marcus explained. Their scouts say it is perfect for a military base, close to human space, but far enough away that Earth cannot attack them there. Helen brought Marcus to the emergency meeting room deep under the capital city. The room was filled with the most important people in the colony. There was Admiral Kate Williams, now in charge of all military forces. There was Dr. Lisa Martinez, the woman who had discovered the system. There was Captain Ryan Burke, now the governor of the main planet. And there was Tony Chun, whose inventions had made the colony possible. Marcus told his story again. The Dominion Empire was building the largest war fleet in galactic history. Over 1,000 ships were gathering at their secret bases. They planned to attack Earth in just 6 months. But first, they would send an advance fleet to set up their base in Kepler 442. How many ships in the advance fleet? Admiral Williams asked. Over 200, Marcus replied, including 10 massive battle cruisers and the flagship Void Crusher. Everyone in the room was quiet. 200 Dominion ships was enough to destroy most planetary defenses. If they came to Kepler 442, they would discover the human colony immediately. And once they did, they would kill everyone. But the bad news was not over. Ambassador Carl Peterson, the colony's representative to the Galactic Council, had his own terrible report. He had been attending secret meetings on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. There, he had learned that the Galactic Council was planning to make a deal with the Dominion Empire. They want to avoid a war, Peterson explained, so they are willing to let the Dominion claim any uninhabited systems they want, including Kepler 442. Dr. Martinez stood up, her face red with anger. Uninhabited? We have 12 million people living here. The Council does not know that, Peterson said sadly. As far as they know, this system is empty and dangerous. They are happy to let the Dominion have it if it will keep them from attacking Council worlds. A vote was scheduled for the next Galactic Summit in just 3 weeks. If it passed, the Dominion Empire would have legal claim to the entire Kepler 442 system. They could bring their fleet there, and no one would try to stop them. Admiral Williams called for more intelligence reports. Captain Sam Rodriguez, who commanded the stealth ship Ghost Walker, had been spying on Dominion movements for months. His news was the worst yet. The advance fleet is already moving, Rodriguez reported. They left their base 2 days ago. At their current speed, they will arrive here in 72 hours. The room erupted in worried voices. 72 hours was not enough time to evacuate 12 million people. It was not enough time to hide all their cities and ships. It was not enough time to do anything except wait for the end. But Dr. Greg Thompson, the colony's chief strategist, had a different idea. He was a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He spent most of his time thinking about problems that seemed impossible to solve. Now he stood up and smiled. "We are not going to run," Thompson said. "We are not going to hide. We are going to fight." "Fight?" Captain Burke asked. "Against 200 Dominion ships?" "Not just fight," Thompson continued. "We are going to capture them. All of them." Everyone stared at him like he had lost his mind. The Dominion Empire had never lost a major battle. Their ships were huge and powerful. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their crews were trained killers who showed no mercy. But Thompson was Serious. He had been working on a secret plan for years. He called it Operation Nostrap. The idea was simple but dangerous. Instead of hiding from the Dominion fleet, they would trick it into a trap. "We have advantages they do not know about," Thompson explained. "They think this system is empty, so they will not be ready for a fight. They think humans are weak, so they will not use their full strength. Most importantly, they do not know about our new technology." Tony Chun nodded slowly. Over the years, he had built weapons and defenses that were far beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Hidden throughout the system were gravitational manipulation devices that could trap entire fleets. There were quantum mines that could destroy ships from the inside. There were energy shields that could protect whole planets, but the most important advantage was their ships. The human fleet looked like simple mining and transport vessels from the outside, but inside they were the most advanced warships ever built. They were faster than Dominion cruisers, tougher than Dominion battleships, and more heavily armed than anything in the galaxy. Admiral Williams started to see the possibilities. If we could surprise them, if we could trap them before they knew what was happening, Dobson said. The Dominion expects to find empty space. Instead, they will find the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The plan was incredibly risky. If it failed, the colony would be destroyed, and Earth would be left defenseless. But if it succeeded, humanity would capture the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. They would gain access to Dominion technology, military codes, and battle plans. More importantly, they would announce to the galaxy that humanity was no longer hiding. They would show every alien empire that humans were not the weak, primitive species they thought they were. Marcus Wright volunteered to help with the plan. He would return to space and send false information to the Dominion fleet. He would tell them that the system was clear and safe for their arrival. He would guide them right into the trap. The next 3 days were the busiest in the colony's history. Every ship was prepared for battle. Every weapon was loaded and ready. Every person knew their role in the coming fight. Admiral Williams moved the entire human fleet into hidden positions throughout the system. The ships were disguised as asteroids, space debris, and natural phenomena. From the outside, Kepler 442 looked completely normal, but hidden in the shadows were 500 of the most advanced warships ever built. They were crewed by people who had grown up free in the secret colony. They were fighting not just for their own lives, but for the future of humanity itself. The trap was set. The Dominion fleet was coming, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity was full of surprises. The final preparations began at dawn on the third day. General Paul Mitchell stood in the main command center, watching hundreds of screens that showed every part of the Kepler 442 system. Each screen showed human ships moving into their hidden positions. This was the largest military operation in the colony's history. Paul had been planning this moment for years. He was a tall man with steady hands and a calm voice. Even in the most dangerous situations, he never seemed worried. The people under his command trusted him completely. They knew that if anyone could win this impossible battle, it would be Paul Mitchell. The human fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. There were 500 ships of all sizes, from small fighters to massive battle cruisers. But the most amazing thing about them was how they looked. From the outside, they appeared to be simple mining ships, cargo haulers, and transport vessels. No one would guess they were actually the most advanced warships ever built. Engineer Claire Davis was responsible for the most important part of the plan. She had spent 15 years building something called the quantum web. It was a network of hidden devices placed throughout the star system. Each device could create powerful gravity fields that would trap enemy ships like flies in a spider's web. Claire was working in her control room deep Under the surface of Kepler 442c, the room was filled with complex machines and glowing screens. Her team of 50 engineers watched the devices carefully. When the time came, they would activate. All of them at once. The Dominion fleet would find itself trapped with no way to escape. "All quantum anchors are ready," Claire reported to General Mitchell. "We can activate the web in less than 10 seconds. The most dangerous part of the plan belonged to Captain Ben Parker. He commanded a ship called the Liberty Bell, which was disguised as a simple transport vessel. His job was to meet the Dominion fleet when it arrived and convince them that he was just a scared refugee. Ben was a good actor. He had practiced his role for weeks. He would tell the Dominion ships that he was carrying people who were trying to escape from Earth. He would beg them not to hurt his passengers. He would make them think that there were only a few thousand humans in the system, not 12 million. The Liberty Bell was actually a powerful warship, but it had been modified to look helpless. Its weapons were hidden inside fake cargo containers. Its shields were disguised as normal ship systems. Its crew of elite soldiers were dressed as frightened civilians. Dr. Nina Scott had helped design the deception. She was an expert on alien psychology, which meant she understood how different species thought and acted. She had studied the Dominion Empire for years. She knew exactly what they would expect to find in the Kepler system. The Dominion believes that humans are weak and cowardly, Nina explained to Captain Parker. They will expect you to surrender immediately. They will want to capture you alive so they can use you as slaves. This will make them careless. A psychological warfare was just as important as the weapons. The Dominion had to believe they were facing a small group of helpless refugees. If they suspected a trap, they would be much more careful and harder to defeat. Lieutenant Commander Rick Green had perhaps the most critical job of all. He commanded a stealth destroyer called the Shadow Strike. His mission was to disable the Dominion flagship's communication systems at exactly the right moment. The Shadow Strike was completely invisible to enemy sensors. It could move through space without being detected. It could fire special weapons. That would destroy communication equipment without harming the ship's crew. Once the Dominion flagship was cut off from the rest of the fleet, their coordination would collapse. Rick had been training for this mission for 2 years. He knew every part of the Dominion flagship's design. He knew exactly where to aim his weapons. He knew how to get in and out without being caught. Remember, Admiral Williams told Rick over the radio, "Timing is everything. You cannot attack until the entire fleet is inside the quantum web. If you move too early, they will have time to escape." The waiting was the hardest part. The human fleet was hidden throughout the system, but they had to remain perfectly still. Any movement or energy signature might give them away. The crews sat in their ships for hours, checking their weapons and thinking about the battle to come. Many of the human pilots were young people who had been born in the colony. They had grown up free, never knowing the fear that their parents had felt when they first arrived. Now they were about to fight for that freedom. Captain Sam Rodriguez patrolled the outer edges of the system in his scout ship, the Ghost Walker. His job was to watch for the Dominion fleet's arrival and report their exact position and strength. He was also ready to send false information to confuse the enemy. The hours passed slowly. Everyone knew the Dominion fleet was coming, but no one knew exactly when. The tension grew stronger as the day went on. People checked their equipment. Again and again. They reviewed the battle plans until they knew them by heart. Finally, at 1400 hours, Captain Rodriguez sent the signal everyone had been waiting for. Contact. Dominion fleet detected at the edge of the system. Count is 212 ships, including the flagship Void Crusher. General Mitchell activated the colony's emergency communication system. His voice reached every ship, every station, and every person in the system. This is General Mitchell. The enemy has arrived. All units, prepare for Operation Mousetrap. Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for the future of humanity. The Dominion fleet was impressive and terrifying. The ships were huge and dark, covered in weapons and armor. They moved in perfect formation, like a pack of metal wolves hunting through space. At their head was the Void Crusher, a massive battleship. That was over 4 miles long. Captain Parker steered the Liberty Bell toward the approaching fleet. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Everything depended on his performance in the next few minutes. He had to convince the most dangerous military force in the galaxy that he was just a frightened refugee. The Liberty Bells. Disguise was perfect. It looked like an old transport ship that had been damaged in battle. Its hull was covered with fake burn marks and patches. Its engines seemed to be barely working. It sent out distress signals that sounded desperate and afraid. Dominion Fleet, this is the transport ship Liberty Bell, Parker broadcast. Please do not attack us. We are carrying civilian refugees from Earth. We are not armed. We surrender. The response came quickly. The voice was harsh and cruel, speaking in the guttural language of the Dominion Empire. A translation device turned it into human speech. Human vessel, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your destruction. Understood? Parker replied, making his voice sound scared. We are stopping our engines now. Please do not hurt us. The Dominion fleet began to surround the Liberty Bell. They were exactly where General Mitchell wanted them. The alien ships moved deeper into the system, following their standard attack formation. They had no idea that they were being watched by hundreds of hidden human vessels. Admiral Williams waited in the command center of her flagship, the Earth's Fury. Like all the human ships, it was disguised as a simple cargo hauler. But inside, it was the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Its weapons could destroy a moon. Its shields could stop a star's fire. All ships report ready, came the reports from throughout the fleet. The humans were in position. The trap was set. The Dominion fleet was walking right into it. Claire Davis watched her instruments carefully. The Dominion ships were now scattered throughout the inner system. They were investigating what they thought was a small refugee camp. In reality, they were surrounding themselves with hidden human battleships. Quantum web ready for activation, Claire reported. All enemy vessels are within the trap zone. The moment of truth was coming. For over 30 years, the human colony had remained hidden. They had built their civilization in secret, always careful to avoid detection. Now they were about to reveal themselves to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The Dominion fleet was completely unprepared for what was about to happen. They expected to find a few thousand frightened humans. Instead, they were about to face the most advanced military force in known space. The trap was perfect. The enemy was exactly where they needed to be. And humanity was about to show the galaxy that they were not the weak, primitive species everyone thought they were. The battle began at exactly 1547 hours. Battlemaster Kralanox stood on the bridge of the Void Crusher, looking down at the human transport ship that had surrendered to his fleet. He was a massive alien with gray skin and yellow eyes. He had destroyed hundreds of worlds and killed millions of people. Today, he expected to add another easy victory to his record. Scan the system, Kralanox ordered his crew. Find all the human ships so we can capture them. The Dominion sensors swept through the Kepler 442 system. They found what appeared to be a small refugee camp scattered across several planets. There were maybe 50 ships total, all of them old and damaged. The readings showed about 3,000 humans, mostly women and children. Pathetic, Kralanox laughed. These humans are even weaker than we thought. Deploy the fleet in capture formation. We will take them all alive for the slave markets." The Dominion ships spread out through the system. They moved slowly and confidently, like hunters who had cornered helpless prey. The massive warships took positions around each planet and moon. They were preparing to land troops and capture the human colonies. Captain Parker watched the enemy ships getting closer to the Liberty Bell. His crew was ready for action, but they had to wait for the signal. Everything depended on timing. If they moved too early, the trap would fail. "Human vessel, prepare to be boarded," came the harsh voice from the Dominion flagship. "Your crew will be taken as prisoners. Any resistance will be met with death." "We understand," Parker replied, keeping his voice scared and weak. "We will not fight you." The first Dominion boarding ships launched from the nearest cruiser. They were small, fast vessels designed to capture enemy ships. As they approached the Liberty Bell, Parker gave his crew a quick look. Everyone was ready, but the boarding ships never reached their target. At exactly 1550 hours, General Mitchell gave the order that changed everything. "Activate the quantum web. All ships, reveal yourselves and attack." Claire Davis pressed the activation button in her control room. Instantly, the hidden devices throughout the system came to life. Massive gravity fields erupted around every Dominion ship. The enemy vessels found themselves trapped in invisible cages of twisted space. The Dominion pilots tried to escape, but their ships would not respond. The gravity fields held them in place like insects in amber. Their engines roared at full power, but they could not move even an inch. "What is happening?" Battlemaster Krellinox shouted as his flagship shook and groaned. "Why cannot we move?" At the same moment, the human fleet revealed itself. The rocks and debris throughout the system suddenly came to life. They were not natural objects at all, but disguised warships. Within seconds, over 500 human vessels appeared where there had been empty space. The Liberty Bell was the first to attack. Its fake cargo containers opened to reveal powerful weapons. Its weak-looking engines suddenly blazed with full power. Captain Parker's frightened refugees threw off their disguises and became elite soldiers. "Surprise," Parker said into his radio as his ship fired its first shots. The Earth's Fury, Admiral Williams' flagship, dropped its disguise next. What had looked like a simple cargo ship was actually a massive battleship. Its weapons were larger than most Dominion vessels. Its armor was thicker than anything in the galaxy dot. All around the system, the same thing was happening. Human ships appeared from nowhere and began attacking the trapped Dominion fleet. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never seen coming. Lieutenant Commander Rick Green chose that moment to strike. The Shadow Strike moved silently through space toward the Void Crusher. Its stealth systems made it completely invisible. Rick targeted the flagship's communication arrays with surgical precision. The Shadow Strike's weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. They sent out focused energy beams that fried the Dominion ship's communication systems without harming the crew. Within minutes, the flagship was cut off from the rest of the fleet. "Communication lost with all ships," reported the Dominion communications officer. "We are operating blind." Battlemaster Krellinox could not believe what was happening. His massive fleet, which had never been defeated, was being torn apart by ships that looked like garbage scows. The humans were not running away in fear. They were fighting back with weapons and tactics he had never seen before. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. The Dominion ships were powerful and well-armed, but they could not move. The human ships were smaller, but they were faster and more accurate. Most importantly, they could go wherever they wanted while their enemies were trapped. Captain Rodriguez in the Ghost Walker coordinated the attack. His ship moved through the battlefield like a dancer, directing human vessels to their targets. He had studied Dominion tactics for years, and knew exactly how to counter them. Focus on their engines first, Rodriguez ordered. Disable their ability to fight back, but do not destroy them. We want those ships intact. The human weapons were designed with this in mind. Instead of trying to blow up the enemy vessels, they targeted specific systems. They disabled weapons, engines, and shields while leaving the ships themselves undamaged. The Dominion crews fought back as best they could. They fired their massive cannons at the human ships, but their shots kept missing. The human vessels were too fast and too smart. They dodged and weaved through the alien fire like leaves in the wind. Some of the Dominion ships tried to self-destruct rather than be captured. But the humans were ready for this too. Special teams boarded the enemy vessels and disabled their destruction systems. The alien crews were taken prisoner before they could harm themselves. The battle lasted exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. When it was over, the entire Dominion advance fleet had been captured. 212 enemy ships sat disabled. In space, their crews either dead or imprisoned. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. A few ships had been damaged, but their crews were safe. It was the most one-sided victory in the history of space warfare. Battlemaster Krellinox found himself a prisoner on his own ship. Colonel Helen Brooks led the team that captured him. She was a small woman, but she was not afraid of the massive alien warrior. You are now a prisoner of the human colony of Kepler 442, Brooks told him. Your fleet is captured. Your mission has failed. Krellinox could not understand what had happened. Impossible. Humans are weak. Humans are primitive. How did you defeat us? We are not as weak as you thought, Brooks replied, and we are certainly not as primitive. The aftermath of the battle was even more impressive than the fight itself. The humans had captured over 200 advanced warships, including the massive Void Crusher. They had taken thousands of prisoners, including some of the most important military leaders in the Dominion Empire. More importantly, they had gained access to the Dominion's military codes, communication networks, and battle plans. The alien computer systems were full of information about the Empire's weaknesses and secret bases. Admiral Williams stood on the bridge of the captured Void Crusher, looking out at the human fleet. The disguises were gone now. The ships showed their true forms as the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. The secret was out. Send a message to Earth, Williams ordered. Tell them that the Dominion advance fleet has been destroyed. Tell them that Kepler 442 is safe. And tell them that humanity is no longer hiding. The message would take weeks to reach Earth, but Williams knew it would cause a sensation. The government leaders who had sent the first colonists to Kepler 442 would be amazed to learn what their secret project had become. The captured Dominion ships were taken to hidden docks throughout the system. Human engineers began studying the alien technology immediately. They found new weapons, new shields, and new engines that could make the human fleet even more powerful. The prisoners were treated fairly, according to human law. They were given food, medical care, and comfortable cells. This surprised many of the aliens who had expected to be tortured or killed. "Why are you being kind to us?" asked one Dominion officer. "We came here to destroy you." "Because we are not like you," replied the human guard. "We do not kill prisoners. We do not torture the defeated. We believe that even our enemies deserve to be treated with respect." This was perhaps the most shocking thing of all. The galaxy was used to empires that ruled through fear and cruelty. The idea of a military force that was both powerful and merciful was something new and strange. As the last of the enemy ships were secured, General Mitchell addressed the entire colony. His message was broadcast to every ship, every station, and every home in the system. "Today, we have won more than just a battle," Mitchell said. "We have announced to the galaxy that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. We are no longer the weak, primitive species that others thought we were. We are a force for peace, freedom, and justice. The secret human colony had become something much more. In one day, they had transformed from a hidden refuge into the most powerful military force in the galaxy. The question now was what they would do with that power. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the battle, every major world knew that something impossible had happened. The mighty Dominion Empire, which had never lost a major battle, had been completely destroyed by a species that most aliens thought was weak and primitive. The first reports came from Dominion colonies near the Kepler system. They had been expecting messages from Battlemaster Krellinox about his easy victory. Instead, they received nothing but silence. When scout ships went to investigate, they found the advance fleet was simply gone. The Galactic Council was meeting on Nexus Prime when Ambassador Carl Peterson stood up and asked to make an emergency announcement. The delegates from hundreds of worlds looked at him with curiosity. Humans rarely spoke at council meetings, and when they did, it was usually to ask for help or protection. Honored delegates, Peterson began, I have an important announcement about the Kepler 442 system. The alien representatives looked confused. Most of them had never heard of Kepler 442. It was listed in their records as an uninhabited system that was too dangerous for colonization. 3 days ago, the Dominion Empire sent an advance fleet of over 200 ships to establish a military base in that system, Peterson continued. That fleet has been completely destroyed. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. The delegates could not believe what they were hearing. The Dominion Empire was the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Their ships were huge and advanced. Their warriors were trained from birth to fight and kill. Destroyed by what? Asked the Altarian delegate, a tall blue alien with 4 arms. Peterson smiled. By the human colony that has been living in the Kepler 442 system for over 30 years. The silence that followed was complete. Every alien in the chamber stared at the human ambassador like he had lost his mind. A few delegates actually laughed, thinking it was some kind of joke. That is impossible, said the Zephyrian representative. Humans do not have the technology to defeat the Dominion Empire, and there are no human colonies in the Kepler system. I am afraid you are wrong on both counts, Peterson replied. He activated a holographic display that showed the battle footage recorded by human ships. The aliens watched in amazement as the Dominion fleet was trapped and captured by vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. The political effects were immediate and dramatic. The Dominion Empire had been the galaxy's greatest threat for over a century. Hundreds of worlds lived in fear of their massive fleets. Now, in just one day, that entire empire had been crippled. The news reached the Dominion homeworlds within hours. Emperor Zaxthul himself could not believe the reports. His advance fleet had been the pride of the empire. It contained his best ships and most experienced commanders. How could it simply disappear? Send the main fleet to Kepler 442, the emperor ordered. Destroy these humans and bring me Battlemaster Krellinox. But the main fleet never left port. Within days, revolts began breaking out across the Dominion Empire. The subject species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly realized that their oppressors were not invincible. If humans could defeat the Dominion, maybe they could too. The empire that had taken centuries to build began falling apart. In weeks, world after world declared independence. The Dominion military, which had seemed so powerful, could not be everywhere at once. Without their advance fleet, they lacked the ships to put down the rebellions. Back in the Kepler 442 system, Admiral Kate Williams was dealing with her own problems. The captured Dominion fleet was a treasure trove of advanced technology, but it was also a massive responsibility. She had over 10,000 enemy prisoners to guard and feed. More importantly, she had to decide what to do with all the captured. Ships. The Dominion vessels were powerful, but they were also designed for conquest and destruction. Williams wanted to use them for defense and exploration instead. Strip out all the weapon systems, she ordered her engineers. Replace them with scientific equipment and medical facilities. These ships were built for war, but we will use them for peace. The work took months, but the results were impressive. The former Dominion warships became the core of humanity's new exploration fleet. They were fast enough to reach any part of the galaxy and tough enough to survive in dangerous environments. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Martinez was dealing with the scientific discoveries that came from studying alien technology. The Dominion ships used principles of physics that humans had never seen before. Their engines could bend space itself. Their computers could process information at incredible speeds. We are learning more about the universe in these few months than we did in the previous century, Martinez told a gathering of the colonies. Top scientists. This technology will change everything we know about space travel, energy production, and communication. The economic effects were just as dramatic. The Kepler 442 system had always been wealthy because of its rich natural resources. Now, with advanced alien technology, they became the richest civilization in the galaxy. Tony Chun led the effort to adapt Dominion technology for peaceful use. Their energy systems could power entire worlds without pollution. Their manufacturing techniques could create materials that were stronger than anything humans had ever made. We are not just building a better future for ourselves, Chun explained to his team. We are building a better future for the entire galaxy. A most surprising development was the reaction of the captured Dominion soldiers. Many of them had been forced to serve in the Empire's military. They had no choice but to fight for a government they hated. When they saw how the humans treated their prisoners, some of them asked to stay. I have been a soldier for 20 years, said one alien officer. I have seen my commanders destroy worlds just for fun. But here, I see people who fight only to protect their families. I want to be part of that. Within a year, over half of the captured Dominion troops had joined the human colony. They brought their skills and knowledge with them. They helped train human soldiers and shared their understanding of galactic politics. The changes were not limited to the Kepler system. News of humanity's victory had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Other species began to see humans differently. They were no longer the weak, primitive newcomers. They were the people who had defeated the most powerful empire in space. Captain Ryan Burke, now the governor of the main colony planet, found himself dealing with requests from hundreds of worlds. Some wanted to form alliances with humanity. Others wanted to buy human technology. Still others wanted to join the colony themselves. We are not conquerors, Burke announced to the galaxy. We did not defeat the Dominion Empire to take their place. We fought to protect our families and our freedom. We welcome any species that shares those values. The response was overwhelming. Within months, representatives from dozens of worlds arrived in the Kepler system. They came to learn about human technology, human government, and human values. The colony began to change and grow. New cities were built to house the alien visitors. Translation systems were developed to help different species communicate. Schools were established to teach human and alien children together. Dr. Amy Foster, who had once grown the first gardens on Kepler 442b, now oversaw agricultural projects on hundreds of worlds. The techniques she had developed for growing food in space were being used to feed billions of people across the galaxy. We started with just a few seeds and some hope, Foster told a group of young farmers. Now we are helping to feed the galaxy. Never underestimate what you can accomplish when you work together. The military changes were just as important. Admiral Williams established the Kepler Defense Force, which was very different from traditional military organizations. Instead of conquering and destroying, they focused on protecting and helping. The Defense Force sent ships to assist worlds that were threatened by pirates or natural disasters. They helped establish trade routes between friendly species. They provided medical aid to colonies that were struggling with disease or famine. "We have the most powerful fleet in the galaxy," Williams explained to her officers. "But we will use that power to help people, not to hurt them." The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading that change. The secret colony that had once hidden in fear was now a beacon of hope for millions of beings across space. The transformation was not complete, and there were still challenges ahead. The Dominion Empire was broken, but there were other threats in the galaxy. Some species were jealous of human success. Others were afraid of human power. But the people of Kepler 442 had shown that it was possible to be both strong and peaceful. They had proven that technology could be used to build rather than destroy. They had demonstrated that different species could work together for the common good. As Jake Harrison looked out at the busy traffic around his home system, he saw ships from dozens of worlds working together. Humans and aliens were building a better future for everyone. The secret was out, and the galaxy would never be the same. The small colony that had started with just a few brave pioneers had become the center of a new galactic civilization. They had captured more than just a star system. They had captured the imagination of the entire galaxy, showing everyone that there was a better way to live among the stars.